Hello, and thank you for watching Fit Health OF News, bringing you all the latest in health, fitness, and relationships from across the country. On this week's episode, we're going to update you on the bird flu, measles, and all the latest current events. We're also going to talk about how researchers have identified a gene associated with heroin addiction. We're going to talk about how psychologists have revealed a point during a relationship when it's considered doomed. We're going to talk about how 5 minutes of a certain type of exercise a day can be really beneficial for health. And we're going to end on a top five list. All right, let's get started. Our lead story tonight in current events is actually some pretty good news. um, we know that people have been quitting smoking, and that's been a big effort, all the campaigns and things to get society to quit smoking, and it is paying off. Okay. From 1970 to 2022, there has been more than 75 million person years of life gained because of quitting smoking. And over 3.8 million lung cancer deaths have been prevented because of this, with an average of 19.8 years per life gained, basically, and per death averted. So this quitting smoking campaign thing is really working out for us, and we are really succeeding here. So let's give ourselves a round of applause for really, really kicking butt on this one. However, in other news, the measles cases are starting to go up, or have been going up, slowly but surely. As of March 27, 2025, a total of 483 confirmed cases were reported by 20 jurisdictions. And we're seeing these go up each time we report on this. So just be vigilant, protect those you love and yourself. Just watch out for this, because this is something we're seeing kind of creep in. All right, in other news, influenza, we're seeing those numbers improve. The CDC's metrics they use to, to calculate the influenza, deaths and illnesses and hospitalizations, things like that. Those are going down. So we're seeing some really positive things there. However, still be careful, because there's definitely still influenza out there. On the other hand, bird flu, we're seeing that pretty stagnant. Not a ton of human transmission happening. The bigger concern is like our food supply and how it affects wildlife, farming, agriculture, things like that. So we do want to be aware. And just kind of keep an eye out for that type of thing. Make sure you cook food thoroughly, things like especially poultry and eggs, things like that. And in other news, we saw a study where researchers found 5 lifestyle changes or lifestyle factors that can add a decade of your life if you're able to obtain them by age 50. And those lifestyle factors are basically if you don't have hypertension, if you don't have a high amount of fat particles in the blood, if you don't have diabetes, if you're not a smoker, and if you have a normal BMI by medical standards. And if you can reach all those by age 50, this study says you can add a decade to your life. It's pretty huge. Our lead story tonight in health, researchers have identified a really important gene when it comes to determining, whether or not somebody is going to be opioid, addicted or opioid dependent. And they found a really key gene that is involved in heroin addiction. And that gene is SHISA7, SHISA7, SHISA7. And basically, they think that this gene, when they saw it in rodents, is a key predictor in whether or not someone is going to have opioid seeking behavior or heroin seeking behavior in particular. And basically, the researchers found that they think these findings, by finding this gene, that they're going to be able to study it further and help uncover different treatment options or other, even looking at that for other types of diseases. Because they determined that the protein that binds to SHISA7 were also linked to both GABA and glutamate receptor signaling. And these are also highly related to like neurodegenerative diseases as well. So, there's more research is needed, but this could really be huge for, learning more about addiction or other neurodegenerative diseases in the future. In other news, antidepressant use has been associated with, a higher risk of sudden cardiac death. Basically, in individuals aged 30 to 39, um, compared with the general population, those with 1 to 5 years of antidepressant use were 3 times more likely to suffer, sudden cardiac death. However, the risk of sudden cardiac death was higher among those who use antidepressants in pretty much all age groups. However, the researchers think that the increase could be influenced also by behavioral or lifestyle factors associated with just having depression, like not getting medical treatment right away when you have a condition or something like that. So, it's not, we don't know if it's because of the antidepressants themselves or because of, some other underlying things that might come along with having depression. All right, in other news, other researchers found that having stress, we all think, oh, stress is just so bad, but they found that having not enough stress can be just as bad as having too much. However, the type of stress matters. Basically, they found that having good stress that's associated with, like, wanting to achieve something, or like the pressure associated with wanting to get a project done, that type of stress basically, it also sends out good chemicals like dopamine and stuff like that. So when it's sent out along with cortisol, it helps your body to get more used to stress management. So then when you experience bad stress, it doesn't feel as serious because you're used to being able to deal with the good stress and while also having these good chemicals. So it really helps your body to be resilient and build up, this tolerance for stress better. So yeah, interesting stuff. Our lead story tonight in fitness talks about how just 5 minutes a day of what they call eccentric exercise can really improve your life. Basically, researchers took study participants and had them do 5 minutes a day of what they call eccentric exercise. Now, what is eccentric exercise? Basically, this is like muscle lengthening contractions, like body weight exercises that aren't super intense, but really are more designed to stretch and elongate the muscles and that type of thing. And they had them do things like chair squats, chair reclines, wall push-ups, heel drops, things like that. That's what the type of eccentric exercise they're talking about. And they saw significant improvements in strength, flexibility, endurance, and even mental health. So basically, what they're trying to say is even this small amount of exercise, 5 minutes a day, can really make a huge impact on a person's overall health and well-being. So just 5 minutes. That's it. All right. In other news, how do we know if we are on track in a fitness journey? This is a question that personal trainers get all the time. I get it all the time as a personal trainer. So here's the answer that I like to use. And basically, what I provide is the Army fitness chart. This Army fitness chart has changed over time. Here it is right here. But the one I like to use has been around for quite a while. It's still available online, even though I think the Army may have updated it. But it basically gives ages, an age range, and it gives different reps and stuff like that. And it says in order to pass this, you have to be in the 50th percentile. So for a 40-year-old, the 50th percentile for push-ups for a male says you can do 24, and for a female it says you can do 6. So if you can do that, you're looking good. For sit-ups for a male or female, it's about 29. And for a 2-mile run, it's 19 minutes and 30 seconds. That's 2 miles, not one, keep in mind. 19 minutes and 30 seconds for a male, and it's about 24 minutes for a female. So if you're in those ranges, you're looking pretty good. All right. In other news, other researchers wanted to know, can fasting really help you lose weight? Does fasting work? And they found that, researchers at the University of Mississippi found that when healthy adults pair exercise with fasting, basically only eating for 8 hours and then going the rest of the time not eating, um, it actually works. So this is a successful means when done in a healthy way, and really done, with care and intention. All right. In other news, researchers have found that high salt diets can induce depression-like symptoms in mice. So it's because of it basically drives the production of a protein called IL/17A, and this protein has been previously identified as a contributor to depression in human clinical studies. So, you know, salt, and interesting, we never would have imagined, but salt can actually be something that might be causing depression. So if you are feeling any type of symptoms like that, you may want to lower your salt intake just a little bit and see if that helps, or talk to your doctor about it. All right. And the final story we want to talk about is how AI powered therapy is gaining more and more steam. Dartmouth researchers used a chatbot called Therabot to test the effectiveness of AI therapy. And it was quite effective, actually. In their test subjects, the people were really saying this stuff is working. The average reduction in anxiety symptoms, there was a big reduction in anxiety symptoms. in depression symptoms and in body image weight concerns. Even in depression symptoms, they saw a reduction by 51%. In anxiety, it was 31%, 19% in body image or weight concerns. So, we might be seeing this evolution of chatbot therapy faster than we thought. So keep a lookout. Our lead story tonight in relationships, Twister's Glenn Powell had a little bit of an interesting week. His mom revealed to the Daily Mail, maybe too much information about him and Sydney Sweeney. His mom said, in addition to other things, quote, "They're definitely not together. He's the kindest person and he is so others oriented. He loves his family and he loves his friend, and Sydney is just a friend." So she went ahead and cleared that all up for everybody because there were rumors circulating after Sydney Sweeney had broken up with Jonathan Davino. So, everybody's wondering, but thankfully, Powell's mom cleared it up for everybody. In other news, we reported last time that Tiger Woods was dating Vanessa Trump, and the President Trump actually came in and commented and said that he is very happy his former daughter-in-law is dating Tiger Woods, and Tiger Woods also. In other news, pranked MSNBC this week. He said that his doctor cleared him after his Achilles tendon injury thanks to explosive lifts and time in a hyperbolic chamber. But very soon after, everybody realized it was a prank. However, he did, I think, get everybody for just a few minutes there. All right, in other news, psychologists reveal the point where your relationship is considered doomed. Okay, now what is that point? Basically, researchers from the University of Bern basically kind of examined relationships from a different lens than most researchers do. They wanted to see how relationship satisfaction changed once people were already in kind of the breakup period. And they found two phases of decline in relationships. They found the pre-terminal phase. And the pre-terminal phase they found can last for several years, and this is kind of marked by a very slow decline in the relationship. It's like when you're kind of noticing things are a little off, or one person is, but everything's still kind of going along. But then there's the terminal phase. This is the second phase. And this is marked by hitting like a transition point when everything suddenly kind of drops. This can last between 7 and 28 months, according to researchers. But that once the terminal phase is reached, the relationship is pretty much doomed. And but there can still be hope during that pre-terminal phase, but not in that terminal phase. Another interesting thing these researchers found is that the people in the couple, the two partners in the couple, they can hit these phases at different times. So while one person could be, kind of going along, the other one could already be in the terminal phase. So it can kind of feel like to the other person that it comes out of nowhere. So it's interesting. So if you feel like your relationship might be, kind of feeling rocky, address it when you feel like it's in that pre-terminal phase before it gets to the terminal phase. For this week's top 5 list, we're going to talk about the top 5 things that men get wrong about women most often. And to get this information, we polled both men and women, and we did the reverse last time. So now we're going to use the same data to make this top 5. All right, so here's the top 5 things that men get wrong about women most often. Number 5, that they make the new guy pay for the ex's mistakes. Now, this is interesting because on the woman's side of the poll, we saw a lot of women saying how they try to do a lot of work in the relationship. And if they had a bad relationship in the past, that they really make it an effort not to bring it in the new relationship. But on the guy side, we saw them saying how over and over again that this was an ongoing problem, how so many women bring, their problems from old relationships into the new ones. So big disconnect there. And honestly, it's likely somewhere in the middle. Some women do this, but not all of them by any stretch of the imagination. All right. Number 4, that they get upset a lot. Now, this is a tough one too, because on a lot of the polls, one of the biggest things we saw in relation to them getting upset a lot was pornography. We saw a lot of women saying, hey, yeah, I get upset, but because my man's watching porn. And we saw a lot of, men saying, hey, yeah, she's getting upset about porn, but I don't think it's a big deal. So big disconnect there. All right, number 3, that they can't trust. Okay, I'm going to go back to the pornography again because, for a woman, a lot of women, especially the ones that I saw in the polls, it kept saying, I kept seeing over and over again that pornography creates distrust. And this is why they don't trust, because their man has lied about this. But the men saying, hey, no big deal, that kind of thing. So big disconnect there too. Number two, that a woman rarely wants sex once she's comfortable in a relationship, basically after the honeymoon period's over, which is interesting because I saw the reverse. I saw women saying once they get comfortable, they want more sex. And the only way that that will change is if they don't feel safe or secure or something, or if they felt betrayed. And men saying the opposite, like, oh no, she doesn't want sex once she's comfortable. But I think that might just be, misperception of what's going on, or, people just not understanding each other, because there's a really interesting disconnect there. All right. And number one, that they leave or abandon the relationship too easily. Basically, they break up too easily. And once again, I kept seeing this pornography thing mentioned over and over again. It was on so many of the polls where this was talked about. So I think this big disconnect, just, men thinking that, different things are worthy of ending the relationship than women do. So just disconnect there as well. All right. Well, I hope that helps. See you next week.